Madame Alain's first tour of the United States and Canada was in the winter of 1961. In the 21st century, she is one of the most famous organists in the world, having given over 2,000 concerts, either in recital or as a soloist with orchestra. She has been named a member of the Swedish Royal Academy of Music. The city of Lübeck granted her the Buxtehude Prize in recognition of her work promoting early German music. The city of Budapest awarded her the Franz Liszt Prize. In Copenhagen, she was decorated with the Danish Dannebrog Order. She was granted honorary doctorates by Colorado State University, Southern Methodist University, and McGill University in Montreal, Canada. Madame Alain has recorded more than 200 LP albums and more than 60 CDs, and has earned more than 15 Grand Prix du Disque. Her recordings include the complete organ works of J.S. Bach, Buxtehude, Bruhns, Böhm, Couperin, de Grigny, Daquin, Pachelbel, Mendelssohn, Franck, and Jean Alain. In France, she is a commander of the Legion of Honor and a member of the National Order of Merit and National Order of Arts and Letters. Born into a family of musicians in Saint-Germain-en-Laye near Paris, she first studied music with her oldest brother, Jean. At the age of 11, she started playing services at the local parish church, where her father, Albert Alain, was the organist. At the age of 18, she entered the Paris Conservatory, and in 6 years she won first prizes in harmony, counterpoint, fugue, organ, and improvisation. She was also awarded the Diploma in Music Pedagogy. In 1950, she won the competition in organ performance and improvisation at the International Competition in Geneva, and in 1951, the J.S. Bach Prize in Paris. Widely respected as a teacher, Alain is in charge of the cycle of professional formation for organists at the Conservatoire National de Région de Paris. Recently, she has published a book on the organ works of her brother Jean, who died in 1940, Note Critique, Alphonse Leduc, 2001, a critical commentary volume which will soon have an English version translated by Dr. Norma Stevlingson. Her newly revised edition of the 3 volumes of Jean Alain's complete organ music is in the process of publication, with the first volume published by Leduc in 2001 and the second in 2002. At the Bales Organ Recital Hall in Kansas, Madame Alain shared thoughts about her musical career and family, how she practices, and her ideas on teaching.
But what is important in the teaching is to be able to be a musician, even on practice organs. So it's not the whole that the whole could be dangerous, because it's too good, and it hides a certain ways of some failures in the playing because of the acoustics and the beautiful action, the very even action. So an organist should be able to play even on a bad organ. That's the worst thing about our job. But if you are able to have a bad organ playing nicely, then you have won. It's not a rule of life, I am always trying only to play on good organs, and I'm trying not to play twice on a bad organ. But nevertheless, it's sometimes necessary to have good practice organs also. I must tell you that I always practice in my home and not in my church, because in my church the acoustics plays the trick and helps very much. No, I practice in my home, listening to everything very carefully. And that was very good for developing my sense of touch. On a small organ in dry acoustics, I could listen to the durations of the note and know why I was playing in such a way. So it's good to have a beautiful hall. It's gratifying for somebody who has very well practiced to play here. But you should not practice all the time here, because you are too spoiled. I wanted to tell you a few words about my family. You know that I belong to a family. I spoke to you about my father. I didn't speak to you about the other members of the family, but we were 4 children. My father was, of course, a very good musician and an organ builder. but especially an organist, student of Vierne, of Fauré, of Guillemont. And we had a big organ in her home. This is a picture of the organ, such as my father built it. It's now rebuilt in Switzerland, in a place called Romain-Moutier. And at the end of my father's life, this organ had 42 stops and 4 manuals, tracker action, entirely tracker action. So I was fortunate enough to have such an instrument to learn the organ. But before me were not only my father, but my brother Jean, the composer that you all know. I also had a sister. Jean was the older of the family, born in 1911. My sister Marie-Odile was born in 1914. My brother Olivier in 1918. And I was born much later, fortunately. That's the reason for which I am still there to speaking of them. And I must say that I owe them a lot, because when I was a little girl, the house was full of music. They were all pianists and organists and singers. We loved to sing in the family. I told you we used to sing the Bach cantatas in the evening for just the pleasure of singing together. But we played also together, although we were all pianists. We played with 4 hands, and we played with the piano and the organ. And I remember playing the Mozart concerto, one playing the piano part and the other playing the orchestra on the harmonium. We had a beautiful Mustel harmonium from the end of the 19th century. So that's to tell you the background of music in which I was raised, and I owe them a lot. My brother Olivier also became a very fine musician. He was a wonderful sight reader. But because Jean was so brilliant, my brother Olivier decided to study literature instead, and finally went back to music, but dedicated his life to composition and to teaching.